Most of you have seen the show House. I'd be willing to bet that most of you have probably seen it 5 times through. But if you've never caught a single episode, you probably know a lot about the show. House has been so popular in TV culture for the last 2 decades. He's cheeky. He's a super genius. He's hilarious.
You know, the down vibe in here is totally ruining my Charlie's Angels fantasy.
House was such a successful show, not because the formula that it stuck to, but because of House and the chemistry he had with patients, his team, with anybody. He's funny and interesting.
You thought it was funny.
I thought it was interesting.
Today, I don't want to talk just about House. I've done that plenty, as I've done a full 2+ hour full analysis on him as a character. We talk about everything. His arc, personality, intelligence, and analyze him through a bunch of different lenses. Today, I really want to talk about the show. In particular, specific episodes that stood out as the show's best. If you had a friend over at your house and they said to you, "Hey, you like House MD, right? Show me an episode you like." How can you make sure that you pick one that won't make you look like an idiot?
You poor dumb bastard.
According to the IMDb ratings for House, there are a lot of really above average episodes compared to other similar shows. We could review each one of these in order, one at a time, to see if we agree with the list. But let's not do that. I want to pick more off the wall episodes that were unique in their own regard, not according to critics. And instead of grading each episode on a bunch of criteria, I want to talk generally about why they're so memorable. I do talk at length about this episode at the beginning of my first Is House the Best Character Ever video, so I'll do my best not to repeat myself a lot, because I think it's probably the most formula breaking of the entire show. One Day, One Room starts off seemingly like most other episodes. We meet a patient in the clinic with a rare symptom, and everybody's baffled by what causes it. House and his team meet and figure it out really quickly. The patient that rolled us into the commercial break that left House and Cuddy puzzled, they aren't the primary focus of the story.
Huh?
House cures him quickly and tries to avoid Cuddy instead of going back down to the clinic. Until, of course, the jig is up.
You ordered a CT on a patient with a bug in his ear.
How did you know I was here?
Ran into Cameron in the clinic. She's stuck with another dying patient. Is that Vicodin?
Breath mint. Thought you were gonna kiss me.
No.
When House does go back, he's still looking for excuses not to do his normal clinic rounds.
$50 to any patient who is willing to leave here right now.
Come on, House. You are so lazy. Cuddy then realizes that the best way to get House to do clinic duty is to entice him with a silly bet to engage him.
You think if I deal with enough people, I'll find some humanity?
Yes.
I will say this, I could probably watch about 4 hours of House doing clinic duty. This episode has been so immersive. We're 12 minutes in and we still haven't been shown primary patient. House has already met with like 6 other clinic patients and is doing his best to win money from Cuddy. Well, kind of trying. Eventually, House meets a patient named Eve in the clinic and has to deliver news of her having an STD. He reassures her that it's not too bad.
It's chlamydia. As bad news goes, it's about the best.
When she gets upset and lashes out at House, he figures out that she was raped and tells Cuddy to get an appropriately trained person to help her. When House goes back to talk to Eve, she connects with him unlike any other patient that we've seen in this show. No joking, no sarcasm. House is just serious and sincere. And that's the thing about this episode that breaks the mold. There's no unknown disease, no puzzling symptoms. House knows what happened, and there's nothing to fix. How many times have we seen House just walk away after a diagnosis?
Sign on the door says I'm a diagnostician. Cool diagnosis means I'm finished.
That's it?
House tries to plead with Eve to get somebody in there who actually has been trained for this, but Eve insists she only wants to be treated by House.
You help her.
She wants you.
God knows why. She doesn't know what she wants.
She knows she wants you. You're the first person she spoke to about this.
The fact that I was in the wrong place at the wrong time should be trumped by the fact that I'm useless at this.
After Eve gets upset and kicks House out of the room, she attempts suicide. House knows he has to try to get to the bottom of why she did this. See, this is different. House doesn't leave. He sticks around this time. He shares personal stories about his own past.
Getting abused by your grandmother. Parents traveled a lot. She believed in discipline.
Your parents, they never stopped her.
I never told them.
He informs her that she's pregnant and asks her tough questions. This episode is all about purpose and control, about understanding. Eve keeps telling House that she only wants to be treated by him.
Which brings us back to, why do you want me?
I don't know.
There's something different about Eve. Her and House have excellent chemistry, and there's no insane twists and turns after we meet her. It's all just about the conversations and the connection that they have, about the topics they discuss, the questions they ask each other. It feels like a real conversation. We do finally get the answer as to why Eve wouldn't let House go.
Why did you choose me?
There's something about you. It's like you hurt too.
Consider this episode premiered early 2007, so 16 years ago. I think talking very openly about sexual assault and abortion was much more uncommon back then as it was today. Nothing was done distastefully or immaturely. There was just a lot of heart, even from our quippy jerk House. That's why this episode always stood out to me personally. He questions her, challenges her, asks her about what she thinks. This is so unlike House, and it makes me love him even more, because we know that he can be mature when it matters, even if it's only for an episode. This episode is a masterfully told story, where we get to know more about House and why he is the way he is. Now, I do want to say there's a lot of discourse online about how many people think this is like the worst House episode, like it's filler and it's boring, and I just don't get it. I think this episode is the opposite of all those things. When you get an episode that breaks the formula like this, I think it's really engaging. Because let's be honest, a lot of House storylines are really forgettable.
Touché.
And that's why I love this episode and I think it's one of the best. It starts with some of the biggest laughs that I've ever had on the show, but then breaks the formula that Fox, ABC, and CBS stuck to back then. It tackles very serious topics, shows our main character being really serious, and has more emotional depth than most of the show's episodes. To be fully honest, I don't think it's the best House episode ever, but I think it's probably in the top 10. I'll give this episode a healthy 8 out of 10. Oh yeah, this episode also has another plotline where Cameron has a patient that's dying. Bye!